Hello, students, and welcome. This is your guide to Unit 1 of Business Communication. We're going to break down everything you need to know, so let's just dive right in.
So what are we covering? Here's the game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, the world where communication happens. Then we'll get into the theories, the different types, and, of course, the things that can go wrong. We'll wrap up with some crucial skills like listening and handling social media.
All right, first things first, we have to understand the world our messages actually live in. Because, and this is really important, no message ever just exists in a vacuum. It's always surrounded by stuff.
And that stuff is what we call the business environment. Think of it as everything happening outside the company that shapes how we communicate inside it. We're talking about new technologies, social trends, what the competition is up to. All of it forces a business to adapt how it talks to people. We can really break that environment down into three key areas. You've got the technological side, which gives us amazing tools like email and Zoom for super fast global chats. Then there are the social and cultural factors. These are kind of like the unwritten rules that decide how our messages are actually understood. And finally, there's the competitive environment, which makes it absolutely critical to be clear and fast just to stand out. So this is how it all connects. Communication plays two massive roles here. First, it's the information flow. It acts like the company's eyes and ears, figuring out what's changing out there. And second, it's how the organization adapts. Once you know what's happening, you use communication to get everybody on the same page and moving in the right direction. Okay, so we've covered the where. We get the environment. Now, let's zoom in on the how. How does communication actually, work? Let's look at some of the theories behind it. You can think of a communication model as a kind of blueprint. It's a simple framework that helps us see how a message travels from a sender to a receiver. And businesses use these all the time to plan their messages and try to predict how their audience is going to react to them. All right, building on those models, we need to get practical. It's absolutely essential to understand the different forms a message can take and the specific paths it travels inside a company. Let's break those down. Okay, here are the four fundamental types you're going to use all the time. First, you've got verbal. That's just talking, right? Face-to-face, on the phone. It's great for instant feedback. Then there's nonverbal, your body language, your facial expressions. Honestly, this can sometimes say way more than your words. Of course, we have written communication, like emails and reports, which gives you a nice record of things. And finally, visuals, charts, videos. These are perfect for making complex ideas easy to understand. Now, inside a company, messages follow specific paths. Downward communication is pretty straightforward. It flows from the top down, from managers to their teams. It's all about giving instructions and explaining policies. But just as crucial is upward communication. This is when employees talk back to management, sharing feedback, giving suggestions. A healthy company needs a ton of this to succeed. Okay, so we know how communication is supposed to work, but let's be real, it doesn't always go smoothly. Now, let's talk about the common roadblocks that can mess everything up. This is really the million-dollar question for anyone in business, isn't it? What actually stops your message from landing the way you intended? So let's look at three of the biggest culprits. First, digital barriers. Relying too much on technology can make communication feel, impersonal. Then there's information overload. You know that feeling when you get an email that's just a giant wall of text? You just tune out. That's it right there. And a huge one, cultural differences. A simple gesture or phrase can mean something completely different in another culture, and that can lead to big misunderstandings. So, how do we fight back against these barriers? Well, one of the most powerful tools we have is a skill we often take for granted, actually listening. And let's be super clear, listening is not a passive thing. It's an active skill. When you truly listen, you make the other person feel valued and respected, and that's the foundation for building trust. In a team setting, it's everything. It's how you make sure every perspective is heard so you can work together toward the same goal. All right, for our last section, let's jump into the modern world, where so much business communication happens these days. Social media. What makes social media communication so different is that it's interactive. It's a dynamic, two-way street that lets businesses connect directly with their audience in real time. This is an incredible opportunity, but it also means there's a whole new set of rules to play by. And here are those rules. Think of this as your basic etiquette for being professional online. It means being respectful, honest, and clear. You also have to adapt your style to each platform. You wouldn't post the same thing on LinkedIn as you would on Instagram, right? And, crucially, when conflicts come up, you have to handle them with grace. The first type of social media communication is interactive. This is all about having a two-way conversation. When you encourage comments, ask questions, and respond to feedback, you're not just shouting at your audience, you're building a real relationship with them. Next up is broadcast communication. Think of this like using a megaphone. It's a one-way message you use to get information, like a big announcement or a promotion, out to a lot of people all at once, quickly and consistently. And finally, there's collaborative communication. This is where things get really interesting. It's when you actually invite your audience to create content with you. Think about user-generated photo contests or online challenges. This is such a powerful way to build a strong community that really feels involved. And that covers the foundations of Unit 1. Here's a final thought for you. Which of these communication barriers do you run into most often in your own life? It's pretty interesting when you start noticing them. To keep learning and exploring more topics like this, be sure to follow Great Compass for more.